In the dim glow of his phone screen, Alex Thompson's thumb hovered over the send button, his heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement he hadn't felt in years. As a single dad juggling a demanding job at a tech firm and raising his 5-year-old daughter Lily, flirty texts weren't exactly part of his daily routine. But tonight, after a rare evening out with friends, he'd mustered the courage to message Sarah, a kind barista he'd been chatting with at the coffee shop near his office. "Hey beautiful, can't stop thinking about that smile of yours. What if we turned coffee into dinner sometime?" Winking face, he hit send, exhaling deeply, only to freeze as the recipient's name flashed back at him, not Sarah, but Elena Voss, his company's notoriously icy CEO. Panic surged through him like ice water. How had he mixed up the contacts? They shared the same first initial in his phone from a work email chain months ago. Before he could even think about recalling the message, his doorbell rang. It was late, past 9 p.m., and Lily was already asleep upstairs. Who could it be? He peered through the peephole, and his world tilted. Standing on his porch, under the porch light's harsh glare, was Elena Voss herself, her sharp features set in an unreadable expression, her designer coat pulled tight against the autumn chill. What was she doing here? Had she come to fire him on the spot? Alex's mind raced as he opened the door, the cool night air rushing in like a warning. Elena stood there, her piercing blue eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made his stomach twist. She was even more striking up close than in the boardroom, tall, poised, with raven hair pulled into a sleek bun that screamed control. But there was something else in her gaze tonight, a flicker of vulnerability that he'd never seen in the woman known throughout the company as the Ice Queen. She didn't wait for him to speak. "Alex Thompson," she said, her voice steady but laced with an edge he couldn't place. "I believe you just sent me a message intended for someone else." His face burned with embarrassment, words stumbling out in a rush. "Ms. Voss, I mean, Elena, I'm so sorry. It was a complete mistake. I must have selected the wrong contact. Please, I didn't mean." She held up a hand, silencing him, and for a heart-stopping moment, he braced for the worst. But instead of anger, her lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "Beautiful, huh? And dinner? Bold move for an employee." Alex blinked, utterly confused. Was she flirting back? Before he could process it, she stepped closer, her presence filling the doorway. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if fate just handed you an opportunity? His breath caught. This couldn't be real. And then, just as he opened his mouth to respond, her phone buzzed loudly in her pocket, shattering the moment. She glanced at it, her expression hardening instantly. "I have to go," she muttered, turning away. But as she walked down the steps, she paused and looked back. "We'll talk about this tomorrow. Don't disappoint me." The door clicked shut behind her, leaving Alex staring into the empty night, his heart thundering. What had just happened? And why did it feel like his entire life was about to change? The next morning dawned with a crispness that mirrored Alex's nerves. He dropped Lily off at kindergarten, her tiny hand squeezing his as she chattered about her drawing of a rainbow unicorn. "Daddy, will you pick me up early today? We can make cookies," she beamed, her innocent joy a stark contrast to the storm brewing in his mind. Lily was his everything. The reason he pushed through the exhaustion of single parenthood after his wife, Mia, had passed away 3 years ago in a car accident. The grief had hollowed him out, leaving him focused solely on providing stability for his daughter. Dating? It had been a distant dream until that flirty text mishap. Now, as he walked into the towering glass offices of Voss Tech, he couldn't shake the image of Elena on his doorstep. She was the epitome of success. A self-made billionaire at 35, who had built the company from a startup in her garage to a global powerhouse in AI solutions. Rumors swirled about her, cold, ruthless in negotiations, with a personal life as guarded as a fortress. No one knew if she was married, single, or even human, some joked. But last night, he'd glimpsed something real beneath that facade. As he settled into his cubicle in the engineering department, his phone vibrated with a message from an unknown number. "Meet me in my office. 10 a.m. E.V. His pulse quickened. This was it, either the end of his career or something unimaginable. Elena paced her corner office, the city skyline sprawling below like a conquered kingdom. She hadn't slept much after leaving Alex's house. The text had arrived while she was in her limo, heading home from a grueling board meeting, and it had hit her like a spark in the darkness. Flirty, unexpected, from a man she barely knew but had noticed in passing. Alex Thompson, the quiet engineer with the sad eyes and impeccable work ethic. She'd pulled up his file immediately, widowed, father to a young girl, dedicated employee. Something about it stirred memories she'd long buried, her own childhood marked by loss, her parents' divorce leaving her to fend for herself emotionally. She'd built walls to survive, becoming the cold CEO everyone feared. But that message? It cracked something open. Impulsively, she'd rerouted her driver to his address, telling herself it was to confront him professionally. Yet standing there, seeing the surprise in his warm brown eyes, she'd felt alive for the first time in years. Now, as he knocked on her door, she steeled herself. "Come in," she called. Alex entered, looking every bit the handsome, rumpled dad in his button-down shirt and jeans. "About last night," he started, but she cut him off. "It was intriguing. But let's be clear. I'm not one for games. If that text was a mistake, say so now." He hesitated, then met her gaze. "It was a mistake in recipient, but maybe not in intent. I've admired you from afar, Elena. You're brilliant, driven. But you're also human, aren't you?" Her breath hitched. No one spoke to her like that. They talked for hours, barriers crumbling as he shared stories of Lily's antics and his lingering grief over Mia. She opened up about her isolation, the pressure of leading alone. By lunch, laughter filled the room, and as they parted, her hand brushed his, sending electricity through them both. But just as hope bloomed, her assistant burst in with urgent news, a major client crisis that demanded her immediate attention. "I have to handle this," she said, regret in her eyes. Alex nodded, but as he left, doubt crept in. Was this just a fleeting distraction for her? Or could destiny really be at play? Days turned into weeks, and what began as a mistaken text evolved into stolen moments that wove their lives together. Alex found himself inviting Elena over for dinner one evening, Lily's curiosity piqued by the fancy lady who brought her a stuffed unicorn. "You're pretty like a princess," Lily declared, climbing onto Elena's lap without hesitation. Elena froze at first, unaccustomed to such unfiltered affection, but then her arms wrapped around the child, a softness melting her features. Alex watched from the kitchen, his heart swelling. That night, after tucking Lily in, they sat on the couch, wine glasses in hand, sharing dreams they'd never voiced. "I never thought I'd feel this way again," Alex confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "After Mia, I built walls to protect Lily, and myself. But you make me want to tear them down." Elena leaned in, her lips inches from his. "You've shown me what trust looks like, Alex. I've been so afraid of getting hurt that I've pushed everyone away." Their first kiss was tentative, then passionate, a release of pent-up longing. But as the evening deepened, Elena's phone rang again, another work emergency. She pulled away, frustration etching her face. "I can't keep doing this. My life is chaos." Alex's eyes searched hers. "Then let me in. We can face it together." She nodded, but deep down, fear lingered. What if her demanding world shattered his fragile one? The major emotional conflict erupted like a storm they couldn't outrun. It started innocently enough, a company gala where Alex attended as Elena's +1, their relationship still a secret to avoid office gossip. He watched her command the room, charming investors with her sharp wit, but jealousy stirred when he saw her ex-fiancé, Marcus, a slick venture capitalist, approach her. Marcus had broken her heart years ago, cheating during their engagement, leaving her to rebuild alone. Now, he whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, a sound that twisted Alex's gut. Later, in the limo ride home, insecurity boiled over. What was that about with Marcus? Alex asked, his tone sharper than intended. Elena sighed. Just business. He's investing in our new project. But Alex pressed, his own past betrayals surfacing. It looked like more. I know I'm just a single dad from engineering, not some high-powered suit. Do I even fit in your world? Hurt flashed in her eyes. You think I'm that shallow? After everything I've shared? The argument escalated, words like daggers. Maybe this was all a mistake, Alex snapped, echoing the text that started it all. Elena's face crumpled. If you can't trust me, then yes, it was. She dropped him off at his house in silence, tears streaming down her cheeks as the car pulled away. Heartbreak settled in like a heavy fog, Alex regretting his jealousy, Elena feeling exposed and rejected once more. The misunderstanding deepened over the following days, each retreating into their shells. Alex threw himself into fatherhood, taking Lily to the park where she'd ask, "Where's Miss Elena?" "She made you smile, Daddy." His chest ached with the truth he couldn't voice, he'd pushed away the woman who made him feel whole. Elena buried herself in work, snapping at employees, her cold CEO persona hardening like armor. But hope flickered in small ways, a text from Alex apologizing, unread. A flower delivery to his desk that she almost sent but cancelled. Then came the first additional cliffhanger. During a routine company audit, Alex discovered irregularities in the new project Marcus was involved in, potential fraud that could tank Vostech. He agonized over telling Elena, knowing it would force them to confront each other. Finally, he emailed her the evidence anonymously, sacrificing his peace for her company's sake. But when she traced it back to him, she stormed into his office, fury and gratitude warring on her face. Why anonymously? Don't you trust me to handle it? Alex stood, vulnerability raw. I didn't want you to think I was using this to get back into your life. Their eyes met, tension crackling like lightning. Would this revelation mend them, or drive the final wedge? Sacrifice defined the next chapter. Elena confronted Marcus, exposing the fraud and severing ties, but it cost her a major deal, putting the company at risk. In the fallout, she realized how isolated she'd become, and in a moment of clarity, she drove to Alex's house late one night, rain pouring down as if the sky wept for them. I can't do this without you, she admitted, standing soaked on his porch, echoing their first encounter. Alex pulled her inside, wrapping her in a blanket, his touch reigniting the spark. But heartbreak resurfaced when Lily woke up, frightened by the thunder, and in the chaos, Alex confessed his deepest fear, I'm scared of losing someone again. What if I can't protect you both? Elena cupped his face. Love isn't about protection, it's about partnership. Let me prove it. They talked through the night, unraveling misunderstandings, rebuilding trust brick by brick. Yet another cliffhanger loomed. The next morning, Alex's ex-sister-in-law called, revealing that Mia's family wanted more involvement with Lily, potentially challenging his custody in court. Panic gripped him, could he fight this while nurturing a new love? Personal growth blossomed amid the turmoil. Alex learned to voice his insecurities without accusation, attending therapy to heal old wounds. Elena stepped back from micromanaging, delegating at work to make space for life beyond the boardroom. Their emotional connection deepened through shared vulnerabilities, nights where she'd read bedtime stories to Lily, or he'd surprise her with homemade dinners after long days. Destiny felt tangible, as if that mistaken text was the universe's nudge. Hope triumphed in a sacrificial act, when the custody hearing approached, Elena used her resources to hire the best lawyers, standing by Alex in court. "She's family now," she told the judge, her voice steady. The case resolved in his favor, but not without tears, Alex realizing he'd almost lost everything by doubting. In a quiet park under blooming cherry blossoms, he proposed on one knee, a simple ring symbolizing their journey. "Elena, you've taught me that love is worth the risk. Will you build a future with us?" Tears glistened in her eyes as she said yes, pulling him into an embrace that felt like coming home. Their wedding was intimate, surrounded by friends and family, Lily scattering petals with glee. As they danced under string lights, Alex whispered, that flirty text. "Best mistake of my life." Elena laughed, her walls fully crumbled. Destiny knew what it was doing. Years later, with a blended family and thriving careers, they looked back on the heartache as the forge that strengthened their bond. Trust had been earned, love deepened through trials, and growth had transformed them into better versions of themselves. The audience, having journeyed through the emotional highs and lows, felt the warmth of resolution, a reminder that even in mistakes, beauty awaits. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional love stories.